I'm just giving you a sense of where I'm standing at this point of time, and my colleague and video journalist Umesh Sharma is going to try and get you those pictures. You can already see the forces are on full alert, and that is because of what happened yesterday. But apart from that, we are hearing the buzz that once again many of the opposition MPs, particularly the Congress MPs, are now going to start coming out and they are going to be protesting. In fact, I can see you some of those pictures. You can see those MPs, I think they're carrying their placards and they are coming out and protesting. Police buses are very much here on guard. The official forces are very much over here. This is section 144 zone. In fact, Ridhima, a short while back, the Prime Minister also left the Parliament. His cavalcade went. And this is what I was talking about yesterday also. This is the route the VVIPs and the high security members of Parliament actually take when they go out of Parliament. And that's the section which has been imposed by the police officials. And over here, and you can see, for example, the MPs who are coming out. And you know, the posters are actually talking about the arbitrary misuse of ED. They are clearly protesting the day 3 questioning of Sonia Gandhi. These are the Congress MPs who are coming out from there. Going to get you clearer pictures, but it's very clear that the Delhi police officials do not want a repeat of what happened yesterday just outside the Parliament.
So Pallavi, we're staying with those pictures that you're bringing to us. Congress MPs once again protesting. These are pictures that we're getting to you from Vijay Chowk in the national capital. Pallavi, I know you're still a little further away from where these MPs are, but could you see some of the posters or the slogans that they're possibly raising today? What are the issues?
In fact, Ridhima, I'm going to try and walk across to where the MPs are. So I'm just going to take this whole walk crossing across to Vijay Chowk. But essentially, what they are doing is that they're carrying those placards with the where they're talking about the misuse of the ED as well. And you know, they're protesting. And in fact, there was a press conference which was held earlier today in the morning, which you saw, in which they all said that she's a 75+ old woman. You don't target women, and how there's it's an old case. There's been no FIR also which has been filed in this case. It's just been stirred up because the Gandhis asked questions of the government, and therefore the government is only misusing these investigative agencies. Now mind you, this is coming despite the kind of statement or verdict which came in from the Supreme Court, which ideally should have emboldened the ED and the CBI, but clearly this is not cutting much ice with the Congress MPs. We're going to see whether Rahul Gandhi also turns up over here. So far, of course, he's not a part of these protests, but you can see those pictures much more clearer. They're all carrying their posters, they're carrying their placards over here. And in fact, I'm going to try and get my colleague Umeshji also to get a reaction from one of the MPs who are protesting right over here. They're all coming towards Vijay Chowk area, as you can see them. And that's the kind of protest which is actually coming in from there. So far, Rahul Gandhi is not here, but you can see those posters and section 144 in place very much over here, and completely tight security area. They're all walking up to Vijay. So I suspect that they're going to give us a sound bite and also giving their reactions from here.
So as Pallavi continues to report for us, those visuals on your screen where the Congress MPs have once again begun their protest march. They're protesting against the misuse of the central agencies. But Pallavi, as you were rightly pointing out, there is section 144 in place. Yesterday we saw how this protest became a security nightmare, a law and order situation, inconvenience to the common people. Fair to say the Congress today wants to get detained, wants to use this detention of various leaders as optics to further push its narrative.
Well, they're just walking up closer to the Vijay Chowk. You can see that area which is completely cordoned out. I'm just getting a sense of this whole area of Vijay Chowk over here, where, you can see them carrying their placards, and you have Congress MPs actually falling and taking their protest over here. In fact, I'm going to try and get in a word from Mr. Uta, over here, the opposition, the government says that we do allow debates and discussions. You people don't want it, and you are diverting the entire agenda.
We want a debate on inflation, unemployment, on Agnipath. The government for the last 1 week, more than that, basically forget about agreeing to our demand. It's just not even bothered to listen to what opposition has to say. If we can't have a debate in Parliament.
But your posters talk about ED, so isn't it all about Sonia Gandhi then?
No, that is also one of the issues. We want to talk about inflation, unemployment, Agnipath, and misuse of the central investigation agencies to target political
You
opponents.
must have heard what the Supreme Court said today, that it does, in a sense, endorse the right of the ED and the CBI to carry on these investigations, and to say that they are being misused is wrong.
No, that they are misusing these central agencies to target political opponents in this country. You tell me in the last 9 years or 8 years, one BJP related person who has been booked. In fact, BJP has some sort of washing machine where anybody else in the political spectrum who's been accused by these central agencies, if were to decide to join the BJP overnight, he will be rinsed of all the accusations. That's the kind of magical washing machine they are having. That's what the country should ponder over. My point is, if we can't debate inflation, unemployment, misuse of central agencies in this house, and the MPs are going to be detained to a police line every day, then why are we building this new parliament building?
Okay.
Let's build a new police line.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, thank you so much, Ripinder, for joining us on this. And very quickly, a quick update before I come back to you, Ridhima. What they're planning to do is to sit on a dharna at Vijay Chowk. Those pictures are there with you. Over to you.
Fighting for the farmers, we are fighting for the middle class. We are continuing to send this message, and especially a message, a loud and clear message to Prime Minister Modi and his Home Minister Amit Shah, that all these men and women in uniform do not scare us.
The opposition's meeting, held inside the parliament today. What was the strategy? What you guys discussed together?
You see, we cannot reveal the strategy, but of course we are all on the same page that this government is being sheer arrogant in terms of revoking suspending 4 members in Lok Sabha for the entire term, suspending 19 MPs in one day, unprecedented, and there was no extreme form of protest that was held inside the parliament that warranted this kind of extreme action. So you look at the run-up to the parliament. First, coming up with a list of words that can't be used, then saying that placards can be used, then this suspension, unprecedented suspension. This clearly shows the design of the BJP to intimidate and harass the opposition.
What reason police cited yesterday when they blocked you here at Vijay Chowk, when they were not gave you the permission to go to President House? What was the reason which they were citing?
You see, they will come up with certain technicalities, that's for sure. But the issue is the President of India, the newly elected Honorable President of India, has the right to receive visitors, and especially from leaders of different political parties, Congress party being the largest opposition party. And for us, it is our right to also meet her and inform the Honorable President of the state of affairs in the country and the state of affairs inside the parliament.
Last question, Gaurav. JP Nadda, BJP chief, is saying that the entire Congress cadre, entire Congress supporter has come forward to support only one family. Therefore, that's the reason why they're protesting, just to protect one family.
You see, that undoubtedly that would be the BJP's allegation. I'm not surprised. BJP do not see any corruption in Karnataka. You see the rise in ED cases after Prime Minister Modi has taken place. BJP does not see corruption in Haryana. BJP does not see corruption in Assam. So obviously the BJP, they try to hide. In fact, anybody who is tainted with crime is given a shelter in the BJP by JP Nadda ji himself, by the Prime Minister, by the Home Minister. They do not take any action. They in fact do the opposite. They provide a suraksha kavach, a protection to those tainted with crime and illegal businesses. So obviously I'm not surprised. They can do what they want. It does not matter. But the fact that they are throttling democracy inside parliament is shocking. The fact that they are bulldozing the parliament is shocking. The fact that despite record unemployment, inflation, that they are still pinching the pockets of the poor and middle class through these recent GST hikes is shocking.
Thank you so much. That was Gaurav Gogoi talking to CNN News 18. The Congress MPs who've come here at Vijay Chowk wanted to go to the President House. They are present here at Vijay Chowk at this moment as we speak. Yesterday we had seen, they were stopped by the police here. We had Shakti Singh Goyal as well. Shakti ji, आप लोग आज फिर यहाँ पे protest कर रहे हैं. Yesterday police stopped you. What is the planning for today?
Look, we want to discuss real issues in the House. And the platform of the parliament is for the discussion. If you look at in the history of past, whenever opposition demanded, when we were in ruling party, we allowed discussion. Even 267 we were allowing. Today we want a discussion on price rises. We want a discussion on the real issues, like it because of the poisonous alcohol. More than 45 have died in Gujarat. We want discussion on Agnipath. We want discussion on jobs. We want main discussion on the price rises, and simultaneously all the agencies are misused against the opposition parties.
What government is saying that they are ready for the discussion, as in when the finance minister, recovers from COVID, they will have a discussion on this. So what is the problem? That's what they're saying.
Finance minister is here today in the house. Why for this major issue when the finance minister is not well? Can't Prime Minister come in the house and reply the queries? Prime Minister can roam around the entire world, but can't come in the house and discuss the real issue of price rises.
Okay. I also want to now quickly cut across to my colleague Pallavi. I believe she is also getting us some reactions. Pallavi, over to you.
Yes, I'm going to try and get in a word also from Manish Tiwari in a short while from now. But you can see those pictures right behind me, which Umesh Sharma is also going to get for us, is of the dharna which is actually taking place right over here. So what they plan to do, and of course I'm being told that it's unlikely that Rahul Gandhi is going to be joining in today, but they are doing the dharna over here to precisely make the point that how the ED and the CBI has been misused by the government repeatedly only to target their political opponents. And that's been the crux of their the dharnas. But that has also brought in a lot of criticism, really, Ridhima, as I try to get in some more word of the fact that, why is it that it's all about the Gandhis? Why is it that you're not talking about price rise, or even your posters and placards are not really talking about that? And but what the Congress says, of course, is that we can take up with that entire issue. And that issue, of course, is the fact that it's a diversionary tactic by the government to ensure that there's no debate and discussion takes place on the floor of the House. I'm going to try and get in some more reactions. Manish is also joining us now. Manish, the criticism the government is making is there is a sense of entitlement in the Congress party. You're protesting and hitting the streets only because Gandhis are being questioned.
Well, the sense of entitlement is actually of the government. They feel that they're entitled to misuse and abuse the instrumentalities of the state for political purposes. So the question is not about the Congress president. The fact is that over the past 8 years, there has been systematic misuse and abuse of the instrumentalities of the state, which is something which doesn't augur well for democracy. And that's what we are protesting
You're a lawyer
against.
yourself. I'm sure you just heard what the Supreme Court had to say in the PMLA case and a hearing of all those pleas by, say, Karti Chidambaram. Won't you see that as a setback to what you people have been fighting for? An endorsement for ED, CBI and the government?
Well, I have not seen what the judgment is. I've just heard about the judgment from one of your colleagues. We'll obviously peruse the judgment, and if there is a comment to be made about the judgment, definitely make that
BJP
comment.
president says that this should really shut up the Congress party because every time someone from the Gandhis are touched, this is how they hit the streets.
Well, I think the BJP president would be well advised to ask his government not to misuse the instrumentalities of the state. Question is not of the law. Question is of the intention of the person who is really operationalizing the law. And so therefore, in an answer to a parliament question, you've seen how exponentially the number of ED raids, etc., have gone up over the past 8 years. And correspondingly, the convictions have been abysmal. So obviously, that data itself lends itself to one simple interpretation, that you are misusing the agencies, and ultimately when those matters come before a court of law, they do not have 2 feet to stand upon.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking to us. So, Ridhima, this is exactly what we were saying a short while back. Despite what Supreme Court has said, the Congress party refuses to accept this argument that the ED and the CBI are autonomous agencies.
So there, Manish Tiwari there speaking to my colleague Pallavi Ghosh as the Congress still continues with its protest with the same narrative that central agencies today are being misused. We'll of course keep tracking all those developments. We're now shifting our focus to some other developments that we're tracking. Now, this is as far as the questioning of Sonia Gandhi that still continues with the Enforcement Directorate. We're now getting you the inside track on Sonia Gandhi's questioning. She's now being questioned on 2 important aspects so far. The first, financial transactions between Associate Journal and Young India Private Limited. Sonia Gandhi, during her questioning, has told the Enforcement Directorate that all the finance-related matter was handled by Motilal Vora. But remember, this person is no more. He was then the treasurer of AICC, AGL and Young India Private Limited. Interestingly, Rahul Gandhi had also given the same answers. Apart from him, Mallikarjun Kharge and Pawan Kumar Bansal had told the ED the same answers as well. Second, personal benefits from Young Indian. Sonia Gandhi has told ED that Young Indian Private Limited is a firm incorporated under Section 25 of the Companies Act, which essentially means that no person can take personal benefit. It was again the same answer that was given by Rahul Gandhi and others as well. My colleague Siddhant Mishra is tracking all these developments for us. While Siddhant, these two aspects we knew was going to be the crux as far as the ED questioning is concerned. What is interesting is that even as far as the answers of Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi, all the burden seems to now be pushed to one man, which is Motilal Vora, who is actually no more. So is there a way of cracking of what really took place?
That's right. So basically, there are two takeaways from the three round of questioning with Sonia Gandhi. A, that she has also, going by our sources in Enforcement Directorate, she has also shifted blame on Motilal Vora. And in fact, she said this in her statement that Mr. Vora was a treasurer of Young India, AJL and Congress Party then, and all the decisions were taken by him. A. B, the Young India was incorporated, Young India Private Limited was incorporated under Section 25 of the Companies Act, which means no personal benefits can be taken from the assets of the company. So these are the 2 points that have been mentioned by Sonia Gandhi in the statement that she has given to the Enforcement Directorate. And the same 2 points were mentioned by Rahul Gandhi. And in fact, ED sources are telling us that that Pawan Kumar Bansal and Mallikarjun Kharge also shifted the entire blame on Motilal Vora. Now, this could be Congress Party's strategy. Because as Mr. Vora is not alive, this is what ED sources are telling us, that as the senior Congress leader is not alive and there is no one to corroborate the claims that these leaders are making, from Sonia Gandhi to Rahul Gandhi, Mallikarjun Bansal. So, you know, so shifting blame on him can be a safe path for all the other Congress party leaders, and this is perhaps the reason that all of them have mentioned Motilal Vora's name in their statements. Now it's up to the federal agency to decide how to take the investigation further from here. Is there a requirement of any arrest that needs to be made in this matter, or directly Enforcement Directorate will file the prosecution's complaint in the court? That is something which is to be seen.
Siddhant, I quickly also want to understand, we know that largely essentially what the ED is trying to understand is as far as details around this money trail is concerned. But what we're also picking up by the means of sources, and our colleague Ashish Mehrishi also has been reporting about that, is that the ED is also trying to verify if there were other Congress leaders involved. Any names that you're picking up, is it a possibility that we could see more Congress leaders being summoned by the ED as well?
Well, the build-up in this matter has been going on since April. And when Mallikarjun Kharge and Pawan Bansal, these two leaders were summoned by the ED. Now the Gandhis have been summoned, and in fact, all those who were on the board then of Young India, Associated Journal and Deccan Herald, all the directors, their statements will be recorded. They may be a high-profile political personality or maybe some low profile personality. The ED, irrespective of their profiles, ED is going to question them, because this entire case is regarding the transaction that took place between Young India and Associated Journal, the loans which were given to Associated Journal, and the entire argument of ED's case is that the loans were given so that the properties which National Herald Associate Journal owns, comes to the Gandhi family. So this is the entire case of Enforcement Directorate, to which Congress Party has to say that Young India Private Limited has been incorporated incorporated under Section 25 of the Companies Act, which means that the properties cannot be used for the personal interest. So there cannot be any dividends, there cannot be any transfer of the property, there cannot be any sale of the property, and if sale happens, then that money will not be not come in the Congress party's account. So this is what the Congress party's argument is. So both have these two arguments, but it is up to the courts to decide who is right and wrong.
Siddhant, thanks a lot for getting us all those details. We're now shifting our focus to Kolkata, where we're understanding the Enforcement Directorate will conduct fresh raids in Kolkata today, and this is in the backdrop of the SSC scam case. 5 separate teams have left the agency's Salt Lake office for these raids. One of the places that the ED is raiding today is Arpita's ancestral property, and we're understanding this falls in North 24 Parganas district. Raiding 2 flats owned by Arpita in an upscale apartment complex in this area is also the detail that we're picking up. We're putting out some visuals of those raids that continue to take place in Kolkata. Remember, TMC MLAs are under the radar. The ED will continue to grill these TMC MLAs. Parallelly, you're taking fresh raids that are taking place in Kolkata in the backdrop of the SSC scam. So we're understanding 5 separate teams have already left the agency's office. We're putting out some visuals for you as well. What is on their list? One of the places that the ED is raiding today is Arpita's ancestral property in Belgaria area of North 24 Parganas district. They'll also be raiding 2 flats owned by Arpita in an upscale apartment complex, again in the same district, which is